Welcome to the first Chad Wilkes show ever at Oceanside Collegiate Academy. Robert Brunson here, and glad to bring you our new head coach, Chad Wilkes, who joins us from Lamar High School last year. And Coach, welcome aboard.
I appreciate it. Glad to be here. Excited about it.
Tell us a little bit about how you got here in terms of your coaching career. Coach Wilkes is only 30 years old, by the way, which is half my age and a little disconcerting. Go ahead.
So I have been going into my 6 years as head coach now, so I have been doing it for a while. I know I am young. I got hired for my first head coaching job and athletic director job at 24, if you can believe that.
Amazing.
My first season was at 25, but I got hired when I was still 24 before my 25th birthday. So I've been doing it for a while. I was at C. Murray for my first 2 years as the head coach and AD there. Then I went from there to Lamar for 3 years. Had a lot of success at both places. My 2 years at C. Murray, we played Oceanside twice. Won the first one back when Oceanside had Sam Hartman, and then lost the second one here at the Citadel. Came down and we got beat when they had Keegan. We just absolutely could not tackle the kid. So lost the second one, and then after my 3 years at Lamar, this job came open. I have somewhat a relationship with Chad Greer from playing him. Reached out to him about the opportunity just from a standpoint of what Oceanside had and the positives to the program and coaching here, and sounded great. Did my own research, talked to a lot of people, and put my name in the hat and got the job, and it was immediate. As soon as I came and interviewed at the high school, like I was still unsure. You're always unsure if you go interview somewhere. Best interview I've ever been in. The people asking the questions were the best interview I've ever been in. So by the time I left, I went home, or called my wife actually, in the car as soon as I got out the parking lot. Said if they offered, I'm taking it, because it's just the best one I'd ever been in. And I've interviewed at Somerville. When Joe Call left Somerville, I interviewed and was a finalist there. And so I've interviewed at a bunch of different places at this point now, because I've been a head coach for a while, and it was by far the best interview I'd ever been in. So absolute no-brainer for me.
So I understand you had a really good interview, but what was it about the school itself, the athletic program, and specifically the football program that you found attractive?
Yeah, with it being a charter school, the time is the number one thing. Coming from a public school, school's out at 4:30 or 3:45. You start practice at 4:30. You've got to try to squeeze in film, weightlifting, and practice into some kind of time, and then still get the kids home. So as coaches, we were there at the school till 9 p.m. at night. You might have had 20 minutes for film, a 30-minute lift at most, and then had to rush out to the practice field and had to squeeze practice into a very short time. So that was the number one thing about Oceanside that sort of stands out, is with it being a charter school and the setup, how they care about athletics. They really give you that time necessary to run it like a college program, which is how we do it. It's a collegiate academy for a reason. We have the same sort of structure and schedule that a college would, with meetings, lifting, and practice. And that's what I'm about. I love football. I love coaching. So taking some of my time where I was doing a lot of meaningless public school activity, which there is a lot of, you go sit in meetings for 3 hours and nobody actually says anything important. A lot of that time that I was doing in the public school world is now spent on football. And that's perfect for me, because that's all I care about. That's all I do. And then again, coming here and seeing the passion of the administration, the Black and Blue Club, the parents, the players choose to be at Oceanside. Is again just an absolute no-brainer. I could feel it as soon as I stepped in the building. So it's perfect.
So I almost said 1922, 2022. 1922, I think, is the year I was born.
When you were born, yeah.
2022 has been a big year for you. You turned 30. You got married.
I did.
Joy,
yeah.
your wife, is of course here with you. And I think you completed a graduate degree.
I did, yeah. I got my master's, all in the same month.
And changed jobs.
Yep, got the job. So got married January 8th, and then got the job, I think, like the last day or the last week of January. Got my master's the last week of January. So all that happened really quick. I've been working on the master's for... The reason I got the master's, it ends up being not worthless, but a little bit pointless. The whole reason why I got the master's is you essentially get a $5,000 a year pay bump in the public school system if you have your master's degree. So I spent however many thousands of dollars on the master's degree so that I would get that bump right back But yeah, so never going to get that bump. The master's degree is just going to sit on the wall and look pretty. Never going to get that bump unless Christina wants to give me a little. I'll take a little bit extra if I could.
Well, I hate to, render that degree worthless, but I do hope you're, have a long and successful career.
Yeah, no, me too. I never want to use it again if I don't have to. Yeah, that'd be great.
Now, rumor has it that you are a sports junkie, although the one sport you know nothing about is wrestling. Thank goodness.
I know a little bit of WCW in like probably years 96 to 99 when I was a kid. Like when Sting and the NWO and all that stuff was happening. Do you know what I'm talking about?
I have no idea.
Okay.
No.
Well, there's a time there's a WCW. It had like Goldberg and all those guys, and then the NWO split off. And so like Kevin Nash and some of those guys went over to the NWO. I think Hulk Hogan might have went to the NWO. So for that, like a 3-year period when I was like 5 years old, I loved wrestling. But ever since then, I couldn't tell you anything. Like I know who Roman Reigns is, I think, but that's it.
Yeah, I see. I go about as far as Mr. Wrestling #2.
I don't know what that means.
Yeah, well, Chad Greer knew him, but he was a little older.
Yeah,
than
he's
me.
a lot older. Yeah.
So as we conclude this first Chad Wilkes show, tell me, what is your goal in your first year?
Win a state championship. Yeah, it's pretty much that simple, that cut and dry. I told the kids the first time I ever talked to them, I've only lost one region game in my career in 5 years. So, region championships to me, that's a given. That's ours. So everything, like that's just a little bonus icing on the cake. Everything that we actually do and work for is all about winning a state championship. It doesn't mean if you don't win state that you didn't have a successful year, and that the kids that played and coaches can't look back and say that you had success and did things, but there's no doubt our number one goal is to win a state championship. And if we don't do that, we will not have accomplished our number one goal. It's really simple. I mean, I don't know how else to say it. I know a lot of people have all kinds of other things that they look at, but for me, you win a state championship, everything else that we want to have happen at Oceanside all comes with that. Kids will get the publicity and the notoriety they need to get them into college. All that stuff comes with winning a state championship. So the more you can win, the more it helps everybody and all of our goals and what we want to do to help the kids and all that. That's just a byproduct of winning state.
So before we sign off, let me ask you about your coaching staff. You got a bunch of new faces, one very familiar old face on the staff. Tell us who's going to do what.
Yeah, so I'm assuming Antoine's who you're talking about is the old face. Yeah.
He's not around. So
yeah,
I can
exactly.
say that.
Yeah. No, so he is going to be the assistant head coach and the run game coordinator. I was really, really glad and that he stayed. That was probably the most stressful thing for me in building the coaching staff, was whether he was going to stay or not, because you're going from either having like the best offensive line coach there is to the unknown. So the fact that he stayed is great, and obviously the experience that he's had being at Oceanside for so long now is something that I can really lean on, because he can say, this is something that's worked in the past, these are things that didn't work in the past, and I can really lean on that knowledge. So having him stick around was really, really great. We've got a great relationship now, talk all the time outside of football now. Absolutely love the guy, so really glad that he was able to stay on. Then we've got our JV head coach. He wasn't a JV head coach last year, but he is another, I think he's the only Oceanside holdover from last year. Andrew Niemeyer, he did the varsity defensive line last year, and he's been here for 2 years now, but he's going to take over as the JV head coach and do our varsity H-backs, fullbacks, tight ends, that kind of thing on varsity. Then new faces, we've got Dave Salazzo, who a lot of people watching the show will have heard before. If they haven't seen him, they definitely heard his voice, I'm sure. If you're anywhere within 5 miles of him, you probably hear his voice. He's going to do defensive line. I think 36, 38 years of Division I college experience, Power 5 experience, recruiting coordinator, all that stuff. Played at the Citadel, so he's a Citadel guy. Coached locally, high school here. He's probably not going to want me to say how many years ago, but a lot of years ago. So he's been in the area, knows the area, really wanted to get back to the area. Again, another huge addition, and a lot of what we're trying to do, being a college-style high school program, having somebody that can help us get recruiting done, because he handles a lot of that for us too, and having that college experience to let these kids know really what that transition is going to be like is great. Another new face, secondary coach, defensive backs coach, Justin McIntyre. He was just got done playing at Charleston Southern, was a team captain. I think led the team in tackles and all kinds of accolades that he has as a player. Is coming in his first year as a coach. He's an absolute steal for us. He's going to be a head coach one day, making more money than I am. He's just an absolute rising star in the coaching business. Really lucky to have him. And then we've got Chris Hutter, linebackers coach, who really came in at a time we hired a defense coordinator linebackers coach who left after spring practice to just go all the way back to Texas. And Chris Hutter, who is going to be our linebackers coach, lives in the same apartment complex as Coach Lazo. They grew up, I guess, well, not at the same time, but the towns that they grew up in were like 10 miles apart or something. So Coach Lazo was at the pool in his apartment complex and was wearing his high school shirt. Chris saw that, and then they struck up a conversation. Chris wanted to get back in coaching. He had coached at Division III level for a couple years, a few years back. And so that really was just, to me, like that God made that happen. Like it was a blessing at the time where we were losing a linebackers coach, really kind of out of the blue. These two guys just see each other at the apartment complex. They happen to grow up in the same area in New York, and now he's on staff and has been an absolute lifesaver for us. We would be very short staffed without that. And we still got a couple of spots. It's late in the game, but same kind of deal. We've had a couple of guys sort of come and go here over the summer. So we got a couple of spots that we still got to solidify that we're working on now. Really, defense is good. We really need at least one more offensive coach, really two, to really put us in a great shape with the amount of kids we have.
Well, it sounds like you just need to send Coach Salazzo around to various apartment complexes and let him hang out
he could pick out. Yeah, we'd have 15 coaches if we did that.
It's a systematic way of finding
There's
coaches.
No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
Well, thank you for joining us on this first episode of the Chad Wilkes Show. We've got another one coming up next week, and we're going to talk then about a team preview and some of the players instead of the coaches. Thanks for joining us.